This is the new era. This is the new band, and we're unbreakable.
We can rebuild him. We have the technology. We can make him better than he was. Better, stronger, faster. Actually, better, stronger,
faster. Is that a
faster.
line from Starship Troopers or something?
No, it's actually the $1 Million Man.
$6 Million Man. I know that, and
I don't even know what that is.
We Brits don't do excitement, so this is the best you're gonna get.
Chris is bringing the noise today, apparently.
Speaking of vanilla,
it's just I don't understand why.
I don't think anyone does. I don't think Travis Green understands.
Talking you through every goalie controversy, scoring slump, and draft lottery bust. This is the C4 Podcast on CanucksHockeyBlog.com and CKNW.com. Here they are, fresh from folding towels, sharpening skates, and washing jock straps. Chris, Matt, Anna, and Adam.
C4 Podcast on CanucksHockeyBlog.com. Also streaming live on the Discord app for our patron subscribers. Matt Lee, you can find me at MattLee_61 on Twitter. You can find Adam Ovenel Carter at AdamFOC on Twitter, though I can't remember the last time he's actually used or sent a tweet. Anna Forsyth at AForsyth03. She was also manning the Canucks C4 Podcast Twitter handle at C4 the C4 Podcast?
The C4 Podcast, yeah. So if you notice it getting a lot sassier on Friday night, that's why.
There was a lot of British lingo that was exchanged on Friday as I was following all that along. Chris Golden at Lightforce, not here today. Hopefully back for next Monday's episode. How are you guys doing?
Doing pretty well. It's been a while since I've seen you guys. Except for that time I ran into you on the street, Anna.
Yeah. When he says ran into me,
I need context
he was
behind
stalking
this,
me,
by
probably.
the way. So, Adam, very quickly off the hop, this is the last episode for you for the summer, so to speak. You're Bob McKenzieing this thing after this week's episode.
School's over, pretty much.
For the summer. School's out for the summer.
So I've got a summer job at an international summer camp at, I'm not going to tell you guys where.
He's not going to tell Matt, otherwise he'll turn up.
Exactly.
I don't show up to places where kids are.
And it's 6 weeks.
Who do you think I am?
And my days off are Tuesday and Wednesday, which is a huge bummer.
Yeah.
But just the way it goes. It's the way the cookie crumbles.
But you will be back around that mid-August period, so you'll miss a few episodes. But
yeah, nothing crazy.
You'll be back
I think
and we're
3
sort of
episodes.
entering that slow period of the offseason. Of course, we wish you were here for free agency, which gets underway next week. But I'm sure we'll get some recap for you in mid-August as we start ramping up towards the new upcoming season. You'll be here, Anna, as well, I think.
Probably.
Plans to go anywhere for the summer?
It's possible I might be going home for a bit, but... Yep.
So it's just me and Chris.
Typical Anna disorganized.
Great.
I don't know.
Great. I won't waste any more time, guys, because we've got a lot to get into today, of course, going all the way back to Friday afternoon. It was the Tyson Barrie trade that did not happen. The NHL Draft happened. Vancouver Canucks made a huge splash for maybe all the right or wrong reasons on Saturday. Now free agency looms ahead, and so it's going to be a little bit crazy for this next week or so as we get towards that crucial period of free agency. And so lots to get into. We will get into all that coming up right now. C4 Podcast on CanucksHockeyBlog.com. So this is Rewind, and we'll start back with, again, going in chronological order, and we'll work our way from last Friday morning to today. Let's start with the trade that didn't happen, you guys. And it was all day on Friday morning, it seemed like it was almost a lock that Tyson Barrie was going to become a Vancouver Canuck by the end of the weekend. Of course, the draft came and went, and it did not come to fruition. We'll get to what did come to fruition after. But did everyone here sort of think and assume that Tyson Barrie was going to be a Canuck at some point?
It's one of those things for me where whenever a deal is rumored that heavily, like, it rarely ever happens.
Yeah,
You know?
and it's like there was just so much talk around town and people wanting to make a splash.
Yeah,
so
and
you're always suspicious.
When Pierre Maguire said he would be shocked if Barrie didn't end up a Canuck, that's when I was like, okay, it's not going to happen. Not because it's Pierre Maguire and he's an idiot, but just it's one of those things where there's never been such a foregone conclusion that's actually happened, really. You know, like when Luongo was going to be a Maple Leaf, he was never a Maple Leaf.
No, totally. Like, it's a foregone conclusion when we see it, in writing from the team. Like, otherwise, not going to believe it.
On the surface, there was that rumored discussion about a first-round pick being in the consideration for Tyson Barrie and probably some other moving parts that were in there as well. Would you have paid a first-round pick for Tyson Barrie? And just to paint the picture, like, imminent free agent after next season, Probably going to be one of the preeminent free agents available if he were to get to free agency.
I would say that I'd rather give up a first for Barry than what the Canucks gave up a first for. But maybe that's getting ahead of ourselves here.
Yeah. I'd be the same because...
Doesn't mean I would want to.
Yeah. I definitely don't want to. You know, that's going to be our major beef as we get into the Miller trade, I think. But I'd be more comfortable doing it.
Anyone here still, I mean, let's assume Tyson Barrie maybe gets to free agency. Are the Canucks going to take a big run at him at some point if they get that chance?
I think he checks all the boxes. It depends on what they do this year in free agency and how much cap they eat up.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. But we can all agree that we were willing to pay that first round price and possibly more for Tyson Barrie if it came to that.
I never want to give up first round picks, and especially next year. That's going to be such a deep draft.
Yeah.
Barry's worth a first round pick, no question. But I mean, we'll get into this. But Vancouver's in no place to be giving away potentially high first round picks in one of the deepest drafts in recent memory.
Yeah, fair enough. Let's get into the draft portion of this, and it's Vasili Podkolzin, the Vancouver Canucks selecting in the first round, 10th overall. When that Tyson Barrie trade sort of quote-unquote fell through, it was the Vancouver Canucks taking Vasili Podkolzin, or as Stan Spiel called him, Vasilis Podkolzin.
Yeah, I know. It was so loud in the arena that I had no idea he messed his name up. But he actually tried to make it more difficult than it actually is. It's not actually, his last name's not that hard to pronounce.
His name's pretty simple. It's not a difficult one.
Find it funny, first of all, that Stan Spiel had to go to the cheat sheet?
Yeah, that was my first thought was like, oh God, did he actually mean to draft that player? But...
Yeah, I mean, just really, there's so few players in the top, like, that you're reasonably going to get 3 to 12. Just learn every single name.
Well, and like maybe,
repeat it.
See, either he didn't know who he was drafting, which is a huge red flag, or he didn't know how to pronounce it. And if it was like the phonetic pronunciation on the cheat sheet and he still got it that wrong, it's pretty funny to me.
Let's talk about the pick. Vasili Podkolzin. For me, as I watched that draft unfold, first of all, the big ripple that was first sent was the fact that the Detroit Red Wings went off the board and took Moritz Seider in the 6th overall spot. First of all, your reaction, Adam, because I know you've been following the draft very closely, but I don't think any one of us really thought that Moritz Seider had a chance to go in the top 10. I think a lot of us thought there was a chance he could be the second defenseman off the board. But when the Detroit Red Wings, and I'm going to say this for Steve Yzerman, reached for Moritz Seider at 6th overall, that created that ripple effect that maybe opened the door for the Canucks to get a very good player at 10.
Yeah, for sure. And, time will tell what this guy turns into. Stevie Weiss seems really, really high on him, and I trust Yzerman more than I trust Canucks management. But it is one of those things that makes you raise your eyebrow, and it gave the Canucks a chance to draft a player that, honestly, I had barely even looked at because he's one of those guys that have been mentioned in the top 5 or so, 5 to 7 for so long that you just kind of assumed he wouldn't be there by 10.
Yeah, and then, of course, Adam, I think a lot of people maybe had Trevor Zegras ranked in there at the top of the list for the Vancouver Canucks, and it was very clear as we got closer to 10 that there was a chance he would be there. And, of course, the Anaheim Ducks stealing hope away from the Vancouver Canucks. But Vasili Podkolzin, not a bad consolation prize. Did you think that the Canucks were going to possibly get Zegras at 10?
I mean, I didn't think it until we're a couple of picks away. And I thought just maybe. But I thought we would be very lucky to get Zegras at 10. So I wasn't disappointed when Anaheim took him. I
think we're lucky to get Podkolzin at 10 too.
Yeah, agree with that.
It's, he just maybe wasn't at the top of our wish list, and maybe again because we just didn't look at him that much because of where we were sitting.
Right, and I think he was sitting in that range like at one time number 3, and close after that time, at the 4-5 range. So I think at 10 it's.
So
yeah, decent.
What do you think of him as a player? Where do you think he fits in the future? Because he is signed for 2 years to the KHL. Everyone listening knows that. So he's not here for 2 years, most likely. So when he is here, where do you think he ends up?
I think it is as they said it was. He's going to slot immediately onto one of their top 2 lines. Podkolzin, the fact that he's going to need 2 years in the KHL. The KHL is arguably the second best professional league outside of the NHL. And I'm fine letting him develop. And let me preface this by saying I'm assuming he's getting big minutes for St. Petersburg. That was a stacked team that it's been before, and I would hope that Podkolzin gets the minutes. And I'm anxious to see how he does for Russia at the World Juniors for the next 2 years, because he can play two more World Juniors before
very young.
He's no longer eligible. I think this is a great opportunity for Vasili Podkolzin to just play those 2 years out in Russia, get that pro experience, and by then, hopefully, he comes to Vancouver about 10 pounds heavier. That guy's going to be a bull in a china shop for the Vancouver Canucks, I think, when he does come over here. And, God, he's going to look really good on a potential line with Bo Horvat, assuming all goes to plan.
I mean, yeah, you mentioned bull in a china shop.
Yeah,
that line would just
perfect.
be... Like it would
That's
be fun to watch
phrase,
a crash
actually.
and bang line. But I also think he's listed as the right winger, but he's left-handed. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Shoots left, so he could play on the left wing and that kind of sandpaper role with two more skilled guys. Not that he's not skilled, but guys like Pettersson and Besser would be pretty damn exciting too for years to come.
Talking about Podkolzin a little bit. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to follow on from what Adam said, like a crash and bang player. He's like a legit crash and bang player. He's not players we're trying to sell as that. He has the hands, but he also just has the toughness to kind of get round players, get through players. So it's just like a legit tough but skilled
Well,
player
you see
that we've been told we've had for a while, which we legit
You see the
haven't.
comps going around, like Evander Kane was listed on the Sportsnet one, or Todd Bertuzzi's name came up. Like those are very good and exciting players. So
I think the big thing I'm hoping that Podkolzin will develop in his game is his shot could be a little bit better.
Yeah.
You're looking for a little bit more finish from him as we get on with these 2 years of development. He's going to be in a position where he could score a lot of ugly goals for the Vancouver Canucks, and so I'm hoping that he works on his shot over this next year or so, and maybe we'll see that over the World Juniors. Another thing I wanted to mention, and I think it was Sam Cosentino who said it in the 31 Thoughts podcast. He said if Podkolzin did not play in Russia, there's a very real bet he could have gone top 3. And I ask this because I feel that at 10, the Vancouver Canucks might have gotten one of the best steals in the draft in terms of where they were picking and in terms of what kind of player they got.
yeah, he's just one of those players that I think will turn into a top 6 player. Like
He's a lock to be a player for sure.
Exactly. And
like the
I think
floor
his floor
is very high.
Well, I
on
think
Podkolzin.
the floor is like a high-end third liner, right?
Yeah.
If everything, if you were to play right now, but the ceiling is very, very high with him, and that's you take those home run chances, and to get a player at 10 and a potentially very high-end one is a great pick, great value pick.
The other thing I want to add, as much as we've talked about the positives with Podkolzin, would anyone here have considered the idea of trading down instead of taking Podkolzin at 10? And I'll say this by saying we saw the Arizona Coyotes trade up. They went from 14 to 11, the pick after the Vancouver Canucks, with the Philadelphia Flyers, sending a second-round pick to the Flyers in the process to move up those 3 spots. So, a hypothetical, if the Arizona Coyotes had come to you saying, we'll move up 4 spots from 14 to 10 and we'll throw in a second-round pick this year, Anna, would you have taken that offer? Let's say to take Alex Newhook, who we have heard the Canucks were very high on.
I don't think in hindsight, knowing what we know now, I'd rather stick.
You know what? It's tough for me, and we should say that they had a deal in place in case we don't know with whom or for what. But if Podkolzin wasn't there, Canucks had a deal in place to move down. I love Podkolzin, and time will tell what these players turn into. But I also loved Alex Newhook or some of those other guys that were falling. Right? Like, was it Krebs at 17?
Yeah.
Like that's another great steal, right? So,
yeah, I mean, I will sing the praises of Podkolzin for a while now, but I don't think that there's that much separation between Podkolzin and Newhook.
And looking at the
Krebs.
guys that were available in the early to middle of the second round, there was some pretty darn good value there too.
Yeah, there was a lot of fallers at the very end of the first 2. Yeah.
Any of the fallers that surprised you guys?
Well, the Kaliev thing, definitely.
Oh, well, yeah, all the way into the second I thought was kind
Bobby
of crazy.
Brink surprised me, but people are pretty down on his skating.
I'll give another example. I thought Caulfield fell a little bit more than I thought he was going to fall. I think he got picked 15th by Montreal.
Yeah, that's a good pick for
I
Montreal.
thought there was possibility that Caulfield was going to go in the top 10, and I think that all indications at the time seemed to be that Caulfield was a lock for the top 10. But I think what Montreal got at 15 with Caulfield was pretty good value.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was sitting a seat down from a couple of Habs fans, and they were pretty pleased with that pick, for sure.
Oh, God, the LA Kings getting Turcotte at 5 I thought was crazy value.
Yeah. Yeah, Kirby Dach going at 3 was surprising.
Yeah, but we had seen in the hours leading up to the draft that it seemed more and more apparent that the Hawks were going to take Dach, but...
Right, but still, it compared to what's been going on for months, the talk that's been going on for months, it's a surprise.
Any other first-round picks that surprised you for all the right or wrong reasons? I thought there were a couple reaches, I thought, there in that mid to late first-round area that I had a bit of a head-scratcher.
Do you have any...
Was it the Senators who took Lassie Thompson from Kelowna?
I can't remember.
I'm pretty sure it was
hold
the
on.
Senators that took Lassie Thompson. And I think most discussion seemed to be that, Thompson was maybe an early second-round pick at best. And so I think that it was... I don't want to say it was a total reach, but the Ottawa Senators, after having given up that first
did
round
at 19,
pick,
yeah.
Yeah.
You're right.
I thought that was a bit of a reach there for the Ottawa Senators.
And I was sitting next to a Philly fan. I don't think he was quite sold on the trade there. Like, what exactly... that was a bit of a reach to trade up just to take Soderstrom. Like, he wasn't convinced by that, that's for sure.
That's fair.
I was very nervous that the Canucks were actually genuinely interested in Victor Soderstrom.
But if they traded down and got him at 16...
Yeah, exactly. I would have been fine with that, and then we pick up something else. Like, great.
Yeah.
Some last thoughts on round 1, and we'll get to the rest of the draft here in a second, but... Leading up to the draft, remember we had seen a lot of rumors or speculation tying the Vancouver Canucks to Philip Broberg and Victor Soderstrom?
Yep.
And now in hindsight, because Jim Benning says after the draft that they liked the fact that they had Josh Tevez and Brogan Rafferty in their system, which was why, part of the reason anyway, that they didn't take any defensemen in the entire draft. Was this some mind games from Jim Benning leading up to the draft, some smoke screens, if you will, to try and get in Edmonton to take a Philip Broberg and then possibly open the door for Vasili Podkolzin to be
Entirely
available?
possible.
I mean, if that's the case, Jim Benning might be smarter than we thought.
Well, let's not go crazy.
Well, we'll get to the rest of that.
Settle down.
But again, like the point I'm trying to make is, had the Vancouver Canucks not sort of suggested that they really liked a Victor Soderstrom or a Philip Broberg, there's a chance that Podkolzin doesn't make it to them at 10 overall, and then they entertain the possibility of trading down.
Yeah.
It's true. Although I think Broberg to Edmonton was a kind of strongly... That was a strong rumor for a while, right? So
Yeah.
there was a strong possibility that they were going to do it.
Yeah.
Regardless.
Round 2, Nils Hoglander from Sweden, 5'9" forward from Rögle. A lot of people comparing him to Victor Arvidsson. I can see the comparisons there a little bit. Sounds like a guy who could play in your middle six. Do you like the pick, Adam?
I love the pick. I think it's a high upside pick, great value pick. He's another guy that I think just has so much energy and frankly skill that he's going to be a player no matter what. And anytime you get that in the second round, you're doing well.
Anna, any thoughts on Hoglander?
Yeah, I mean, all the talk is of him going in the first round, so falling to 40 is, I think that's a great pickup. Obviously, there's the size thing again, and I do think Canucks kind of make a specialty of signing undersized forwards, but it doesn't seem to be a massive concern at this point.
Also,
no concern about the 5'9" frame?
Well,
no,
no, there's some concern. There's always going to be some concern, but...
I don't think it matters any. Like, I really don't. People are going to overvalue size. Cough,
I mean, yeah, exactly.
But really, I mean, look at DeBrincat's even smaller, Mitch Marner, all these small guys that are succeeding so
I'm not
commonly now. I just don't think it
worried
matters
about
at all. And how tall is Victor Arvidsson?
I don't know.
And he scored 30 goals the past 3 years. Like, he's a good player. And if you end up with that in the second round, you're gravy.
This one just came into Discord right now, and maybe Anna was about to read it, but do you think Hoglander plays in the NHL before or after Podkolzin?
I could see him being pro one way or another, like AHL or NHL next year, easily.
Hoglander, really?
Yeah, I think so.
So is he further or behind the development chart for, let's say, compared to Cole Lind?
Well, I mean, it all depends on what happens in Utica.
Yeah.
Really. Like, I think he could be in Utica next year. God, I don't want anybody going to Utica right now, though.
Yeah, that's the thing.
One pro of Vasili Podkolzin playing in the KHL. That's one less year in Utica.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I don't know if I agree that Hoglander is that NHL ready, but there does seem to be a lot of people suggesting that he's more NHL ready than I think. So.
Well, I think he might be NHL ready, but not near his ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like he could go in and play in a year or two and be fine, but a couple more years, and I think he could be quite a good player.
It does seem crazy that we're talking about like leaving a player in the KHL with the history that the KHL has had, and that we're valuing that over bringing a player to our own organization that's supposed to be developing our players. Like, that's just crazy to think about.
Let's play a quick name game, if you will, and I'm going to give you guys a prospect, and you tell me if you like Podkolzin better than that prospect or not, okay? I'll start here. And for the purposes of this exercise, we'll consider Quinn Hughes and Thatcher Demko, as well as Adam Gaudette, as quote-unquote graduated prospects, so they're no longer being compared here. Would you rather have Vasili Podkolzin or Tyler Madden?
Podkolzin.
Yeah.
Vasili Podkolzin or Olli Juolevi?
Podkolzin.
Yeah.
Podkolzin or any of Wu, Brisebois, DiPietro, Lind, etc., etc.?
Podkolzin, I think. He has the highest upside of any of those guys.
So, safe to
Yeah,
say...
but there are a couple... There's definite definitions between those guys. Like, Wu is pretty high on my list, but I'd rather have Podkolzin.
But it is
if I had to.
unanimously Vasili Podkolzin
I think
as number one.
If you get rid of all the guys you said who's graduated,
Yeah.
then he's the number one prospect in the Canucks system.
Is Olli Juolevi number two?
He's just such an unknown at this point.
He's real. I mean, maybe, but you could say Jet Wu, you could say Tyler Madden. You know, I think you could say Cole Lind if you wanted to.
Yeah, I don't think I could say Cole Lind.
But, I mean, he's shown as much as Juolevi has, right?
Where does Nils Hoglander compare to, let's say, Olli Juolevi?
He's in the top 5, I think,
But behind Juolevi?
potentially.
I mean, at this point, it's
It's
so...
close.
I
The
know,
problem
I don't
is-
want to fence sit, but, like, we just don't know with Juolevi
Yep.
whatsoever. Just how he recovers from this injury is just so
Yeah.
huge.
And there's a lot riding on him this year, I think.
Yeah.
He's already gone skating for those who've missed it, but Olli Juolevi, this could be a very crucial year, as you mentioned, for his development. Yeah, I mean, I think Hoglander's top 5. I think I'd prefer Tyler Madden than him at this point. I'm really excited about what Tyler Madden will do. And if you talk about a guy who you could see graduating and getting that 8-game audition, so to speak, that we've seen with Gaudette and Hughes and with Besser over the last 3 years, Tyler Madden would be my sort of nominee as someone who's going to graduate from Northeastern and play a few games and burn off that ELC. I don't know.
Yep.
That first year of the ELC, I should say. Any of the other picks that you like from the draft? Ethan Keppen, we saw, was taken in the 4th round. Carson Fogt, Artur Silovs, Karl Plesic, Jack Malone, Aiden McDonough, Arvid Kosmar. I think, just if I can start, I like Aiden McDonough because he's going to go to Northeastern, and of course he's a lot different than the 2 guys who have been at Northeastern before him, but the Canucks have seen that system and development work very nicely
program
for their players. So I'd like to say that there's a little bit of interest to see how that plays out, but I know that they're pretty high on Ethan Keppen right now in the 4th
I
round.
like Ethan Keppen. I think he's, maybe not, he doesn't have a super high ceiling, but he's another guy that I think will find a way to make it into the league and play, a good role.
Another Gadjevich type of experiment there, I feel like.
Yeah, bigger guy, toolsy, but no elite traits. But, in the 4th round, I think in the 4th round and beyond, you're either drafting for elite traits and hoping everything else kind of fleshes out around that, or you're drafting guys just to kind of fill out your roster. And he's a safe bet to make the NHL.
Yeah, he could be a guy.
A quick did you know before we get to the next break?
I just want to say I also like the goalie a lot, Arturs Silov.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm saying that right, but I think that's the guy with elite traits, size, athleticism.
Where is he on the Kristers Gudlevskis scale of Latvian goaltenders?
Couldn't
You
tell.
remember that guy?
No.
Gudlevskis? No one? The Latvian goaltender who almost backstopped Latvia to that upset in, I think it was the Olympics, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
They pushed them to the brink. Like it came down to the
yeah.
wire in the 3rd period or something like that. Like it was a 1-0 Canada win or something, if I remember.
Cool.
Anyway.
I mean, yeah. Vogt, and I mean, that was an odd one, maybe. That he might have gone undrafted, but...
Was he the overager?
Yeah.
Which
we
one,
had,
sorry?
We had
Which guy?
two.
Which guy?
Carson Fogt.
Oh,
He
yeah.
had who was the other overager?
The
goalie.
The Jack Malone pick, just because I don't know much about him, but the Hockey News had him ranked, what, 59?
In the 50s, yeah.
That's pretty darn high for a guy that went as late as he did. And Hockey News, who knows, but there's some intrigue there. I just don't know enough about him. Also,
Value
great
was
name.
there.
Great name. Yeah, value. Yeah, for sure.
A quick did you know before we get to the break. With 9 selections in 2019, did you know that this is the most picks Vancouver has made in a single draft since 2003?
I did not know that.
I didn't know.
And Ryan Kessler accounting for 99.9% of those games played from the 2003 draft. It was not a good draft outside of the Kessler draft. Not good. Take a break. When we come back, we'll get to the F word where Adam was going to go off on the JT Miller trade. I can feel him getting riled up already. All that coming next on the C4 podcast, CanucksHockeyBlog.com.
He liked to say the F word.
Oh, then get the here then. Okay, see ya.
Is going to have the F word on it.
I wish I could give you an explanation about it. I can't.
You said the F word, Dad.
You called me the F word.
All right, so maybe we buried the lead here. I don't know how far we're in, 25 minutes into this show, and we're just talking about the JT Miller trade now. But, yeah, man, Okay, let me start by saying I really like JT Miller as a player. I think he's going to fit in brilliantly with the Canucks. He's the type of player you want on your team. He can play any of the top 3 or the 3 forward positions. He can play anywhere in the top 9 that you need him to. He's a great addition to the team, and 26-year-old top 6 player on a cost control contract for another 4 years is a great piece to have. But the Canucks, I said this earlier, are in no position to be trading away first-round picks. Like, I get there's a cost to acquire good players, but we all know Tampa was incredibly cash-strapped. I feel like I'm preaching to the choir here, but like you should be taking advantage of this. The Canucks didn't. It's just another example of mismanagement from Benning and the Canucks. And I feel like, at least on Discord, the negativity was all around. I'm not the only one here screaming about this. It's tough because, like I said, I really like Miller as a player, but it's frankly like a pretty embarrassing trade for the Canucks and is going to hurt them in negotiations going forward. You get a good player, sure, but the Canucks, you trade first-round picks when you're on the cusp of winning a Stanley Cup, not to get into the playoffs. And the fact that this could be a lottery pick in 2 years is terrifying. And I get Benning is trying to save his job, and that's really where this stems from. And whatever happens in free agency kind of has that feel too. But it's a bad trade, and I'm upset about it.
Yeah, I mean, what else is there to say? It's disappointing to see that, like to see Benning trading for the next 2 years.
Sorry to cut you off, but Benning had built up some pretty goodwill there with the Edler contract extension, the Podkolzin pick, the Hoglander pick. He was doing pretty great, and even people were pretty
3 out of 4 is not bad.
Well, even Boy Genius was like, yeah, I like JT Miller. He's a great pick or a great pickup, but. Until, and then they're going through, they said, for Marek Mazanik, a 3rd-round pick.
I thought that was stopped right there.
And I was like, okay, not bad.
Right there
and then they said a conditional first, and my heart dropped. And then I was like, okay, maybe there's like a second or a first involved on the other side. It's like a trade down. And they just said for JT Miller, and my heart sunk even more. And I just couldn't believe it.
Yeah, and it's weird because we're not being negative about the player that JT Miller is. He is good, but it's a first-round pick in one of the best drafts in several years. It's already been talked about as just, like, hugely deep, and we're just throwing that away to make the playoffs. Sure, we're like a button team right now. Maybe it pushes us into the playoffs. So,
yeah, I think, Matt, you and I kind of talked about this after the deal. Like, this will most likely be a 2021 pick, and if it is a mid-20s pick, that's a fine cost for a player that's producing on your first or second line, right?
I will say, and like I understand that JT Miller has been quite divisive? Help me out, Anna. You're English.
I would say divisive, but I think
it's been quite a
fine.
divisive topic in the Discord app over the last few days or so. You know, the Vancouver Canucks, they may not make the playoffs this year or this upcoming season, but I can't see them missing the playoffs in 2021 at this stage currently.
Yeah, and I agree, but I just think you don't trade first-round picks to get into the playoffs.
I understand, but like I think there's this genuine fear around from Canucks fans that the Canucks are pulling in Ottawa Senators and that they're giving up a potential lottery pick. And I understand that 2021 would not be lottery protected, but the Canucks are trending in a much different direction than the Ottawa Senators were when they made that deal. The Ottawa Senators, when they made that deal, they were, an OT goal away in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals from making it to the Stanley Cup Final. Like, they outkicked their coverage that year. Let's be honest. And the Ottawa Senators, they went all out for it, tried to make that deal. It didn't work, and it blew up very badly in their face. The Vancouver Canucks, though, they're young, they're getting better, they have accumulated a lot of young assets. God willing that they're not making any more bad trades that will set the team back. I am wanting to be optimistic that the 2021 pick that they could and likely will surrender would not be in the top 15.
Yeah, and Matt, you and I watch a lot of football and talk football drafts and stuff like that, and when you trade a pick in future years, you usually devalue it by one round, right? So if you're trading a first round pick, it's next year is the same as trading a second round pick this year, and this just doesn't have that same feel to me. I don't know why exactly. Can't quite put my finger on it. I don't know if you can touch on that, but
I'll say this: from what I've heard from friend of the show Cam Robinson, 2020's draft is looking seriously deep.
Yeah,
deeper than this year.
Yeah.
2021, I've heard, is a little bit more average. And, of course, this is me prefacing it by saying 2021 is 2 years away and a lot can change.
Yeah, we're dealing with 15-year-old
But
kids.
2020, like, from the top to, like, that mid-teens, it is a very deep class. And at the top, it's very nice as well. Like, the top 5 are all great to elite-level talents. And so part of me is kind of hoping the Canucks miss the playoffs in 2020 so that we can get that player and let it roll to 2021, because I'm hopeful that whatever they get in 2020 could help them almost immediately.
Especially if it's a top 5 pick.
But again, like, a lot can change. I'll echo your guys' sentiments that you like JT Miller, the player. He's a proven 45-point guy. He could probably push into the mid-50s if he's given some plum minutes and
well, that's
power
the
play
thing.
time
He's been
in
playing
Vancouver.
second or third line minutes in Tampa just because they're so stacked.
And so, like, if you're getting a guy who's getting you 50 points plus for the next 3 years, a first rounder might not be that bad of a price. And I know it sounds crazy right now, and I agree that the Canucks are not in a position to be giving up first round picks.
I think you're right. It is fair value for Miller, but yeah, again, the Canucks maybe shouldn't be giving up first round picks. And two, they're doing Tampa a favor here, taking that 5.25 off their books. They should be taking it. When we say weaponized cap space, like a weapon, you're taking advantage of. You're sniping, assassinating, whatever. You are the one in control, and should be dealing with assets as such.
Yeah, the thing is, it's just like he could provide, as Matt says, like that really decent contribution for the next 3 years. But do you expect us to take a run in the next 3 years?
No, I don't. Really, right? So, but I think part of it is this whole St. Louis model that the NHL is obsessed with, is that now, a team can be worse than the league and win the Stanley Cup that same year.
By the way, very random and off topic. Remember how I said I would French kiss you if the Canucks got Trevor Zegras?
We're very close to that.
We were very close to that.
I know.
It was just brought to my attention
disappointed.
in Discord. We could have been, oh man, I would have been smooching you on the lips right now if that had happened. Don't film this, Anna.
Do you want to anyway?
No, I do not want to anyway. Okay? Because we did get Trevor Zegras.
Yeah, it would feel
and to make matters worse,
empty.
we traded a first round pick for JT Miller. Yeah. I am not in a kissing mood if we did that.
And
that turns me off more than anything.
Say 2 years from now, JT Miller scored 25 goals in the past 2 years, and this year and next, then maybe we look at it differently. But who the hell knows?
He is still young, though. You got to admit that at 26, there's still a lot of good years left on that contract. Plus $5.25 million for the next 4 years.
Till he's 30 years
that's
old.
pretty good value considering what Kevin Hayes just got.
You
in the
hope
open
a
market.
first-round pick turns into a guy like JT Miller, quite frankly. And, I think we overvalue first-round picks, but when they are high, when they are a lottery pick, like the value of them just skyrockets because those picks have such a bigger chance of becoming impact players. But if you're picking the bottom half of the NHL draft, then I think it's okay.
I think this was brought up by a new Discord member, Morgan Holmgren. Let me ask you this: like, if it was conditional that if it wasn't a first round pick this year, and if they missed the playoffs next year as well in 2021 as well, that it became a second round pick, would you have been way more on board with this deal?
Yeah, probably.
So, in other words, if they miss the playoffs this upcoming season, it rolls to 2021, and if they miss the playoffs in 2021, it becomes a second round pick.
Yeah, well, I think that's the thing about overvaluing first-round picks again.
Yeah.
Me saying probably right off the bat, because if they do make the playoffs that year, say they pick 23rd, is there a huge and say they don't, and it's a second-round pick, and it's 35th, 38th, is there a huge difference? Like, obviously, there's some difference there, but when it comes to the odds of making the NHL, it's not. I don't think it's significant.
Second and a third in 2019 and Mazanec for Miller, you would do that? No problem?
Yeah, I would have stomached the second round pick this year.
Yeah.
But getting Hoglander is pretty darn nice. That's a free first round pick.
Interesting. We'll take a break. We'll come back with Half Full, Half Empty, where we're getting into Adam's favorite time of the year. He's going to be on suicide watch after this is all over. The Vancouver Canucks, they had Tyler Myers in town. Someone stop the meeting. Stop the madness. All that coming up next. C4 Podcast, CanucksHockeyBlog.com.
Take hitting out of the game. You can't hit anymore, so don't do it.
The unsportsmanlike conduct, I want to get an explanation on that.
No kidding.
Because how do you get suspended for unsportsmanlike conduct?
Plus interference. There's no interference there. He had the puck.
Now, Madison never ever did that before. Now, why did he do it? Because he was mad.
Well, your early favorite for the Calder Trophy, that's for sure. Elias Pettersson, you might even say your early favorite for the Hart Trophy.
Just to get back to your question, Elias is going to play plenty. He's going to get a lot of power play time. And, yeah, I'm concerned about our offense. We lost 200-point players, and we've got to find a way to score.
So, Adam, have you gotten your Tyler Myers 50th anniversary jersey made yet?
It's gonna.
Let me ask you. This.
I will bet. I'll bet whatever you want that the Canucks will sign him for a $56 million contract, 7 years, 7 by 8.
Okay, we don't have to go with those exact numbers, but you think he's getting $8 million a year, in some way or
He's
form?
getting a 7 by 8 deal.
You think it's just done? 7 years, $8 million per.
He has all the leverage,
for whatever reason,
and because the Canucks aren't even go after Jake Gardiner. I don't want either. But if you're going to go after one, go after the one who's actually good at hockey.
Yeah.
Who's not...
He's not about...
Who doesn't have a negative wins above replacement. Like, Tyler Myers has not been good since his rookie year in 2009. But that 1 year has carried him for 10 years.
But he's so tall, Adam.
See, overvaluing size. It's unbelievable.
So let me ask you this. What are you more angry about at this moment? The prospect of signing Tyler Myers to a 7-year deal for $56 million or
Myers,
the JT Miller trade?
Myers.
It's not even close?
That contract could cripple. He's bad now. He'll be getting worse because he's going to be turning 30 soon. He's 29 now. Mm-hmm. And a max term deal at high value is that could cripple the Canucks. That could be one of the deals where they have to give another first round pick to get rid of it later. No. Did you see the thing? I can't remember who reported it, that some owners are pissed off, or GMs are pissed off because the salary cap is ruining the NHL and they can't sign their own good players. It's because they keep signing players like Tyler Myers to these crazy deals.
Yeah.
None of these players that you sign at 29 are going to be as good at 34, 5, 6 as they are at 27 2 years ago, right? It's insane.
But yeah, I mean, the thing with free agency is you're going to be overpaying no matter what, because you have to increase.
Why?
But just hear me out, that you have to increase term in order to secure the player, because that's what they are worth in the market, because the market dictates it. But you just have to get a player that's first 3 or 4 years of that contract is explosive enough that you can stomach the rest of it, right? And there's no guarantee whatsoever that Myers will even come close to that $8 million worth. Even
he will
in
not be
one
worth
season.
it the second he signs it. Like
Yeah.
with Eriksson, when he was signed, you could at least argue, okay, he'll probably be good for the first 3 years, and he hasn't been. But you could make that argument. But with Myers, you just can't.
Yeah.
Anna, if it was at all possible, could a Myers contract for 7 years be worse than what Louis Eriksson's contract was right from the get-go?
Yeah, for the reasons I just said.
Yeah.
Listen to me. Don't look at your phone next time.
Sorry, so a friend just sent me an awesome trivia question and I was trying to answer it. Name
it
the 5
NHL
other
related?
German-born players that were drafted in the first round, aside from Mort Seider, who became the 6th. You can think about that later.
Okay, cool.
It's a great trivia question.
Myers, like, the thing is, it's kind of the Louis Eriksson versus Lucic thing, right? Why would you want to add an extra year onto being hamstrung? The Eriksson deal is bad, but we don't want to add an extra year of being stuck with a player. So the Myers thing, it's just like, I don't really want him in the first place. Never mind being stuck with him once he passes 30 and gets even worse.
Tyler Myers. Okay, so let me ask you this, Anna. At what contract terms, dollars, would you be comfortable with Tyler Myers?
I mean, less, like, just no realistic term, because I want him, like, I can't see him signing for, like, 3 years or...
Yeah, like, if they sign him for 2 or 3 years at $5 million per year,
yeah,
I'd be like, okay, I can live with that.
Yeah, I think 3 would be the maximum, right? And he's not going to sign for that.
And, I mean, my ideal contract... Matt, you seem very excited. My ideal contract would be 0 by 0 because I just don't want him on the freaking team.
Right, yeah.
But
we were going to do this earlier, but the impromptu phone call segment.
Oh.
We were originally going to do this with Jim Benning and Julien Brisebois for the trade for JT Miller. But instead, let's do a hypothetical scenario where, Adam, you're Tyler Myers and I'm Jim Benning. Or do you want us to roll?
No, it doesn't matter. Are we on the phone or are we going out for dinner?
Let's do the dinner that they had last night.
All right.
Anna, you can be the third party.
You can be my
You're
agent.
Tyler Myers. I am Jim Benning.
Okay.
Well, Tyler, it's nice to meet you in person. As we said, we're really interested in you as a potential free agent. You're a right-handed defenseman. You got some size, which is what we're looking for up front. You know, we got a lot of young talent. Quinn Hughes is coming in. We're looking for a guy who could play alongside Quinn. What do you think of maybe coming to Vancouver?
Well, what's in it for me?
Well, let me ask you, how many other teams have you talked to so far?
30.
No, you could say none, because okay. That's probably what was happening.
Yeah, I know, but I was trying to leverage it.
Yeah.
None. I see what you're doing.
None.
Yeah.
None.
Well,
you're my first.
Even then, what kind of offer would you want me to make you?
Well, I want to be secure, so 8 years. 7 years. 7 years we
can give you 7 years.
Oh,
do you want to know movement clause while we're at it?
I thought you'd say you'd give me 8 just to be sure you get me. Yes, of course. I want to be secure, and I don't want to be exposed in the expansion draft.
Okay. Well, we would consider you part of our core. What's a dollar figure that makes sense for you, Tyler?
Well, you know, I was making 5-something in Winnipeg, and I think my services there show that I deserve more than that.
So maybe around $7 million a year for 7 years?
Well, I think the provincial tax in BC is pretty high.
That's a good point. So how about we decide around $50 million over 7 years?
Make it 56.
Well, I know you're not talking to any teams, but it's a done deal for us.
Great. It's been a pleasure.
This is how it's going to go, isn't it?
This is how it goes with Benning all the time.
Okay, I'm playing the server, and I'm spitting in Jim Benning's food.
I mean, it's entirely possible. And you know what? I don't disagree with any of the points that you guys just made. Is Tyler Myers, he's useful in Vancouver, but at the contract that he's going to demand from the Vancouver Canucks, I have a hard time justifying it.
He's a 4th or 5th defenseman that's going to get paid
like
top dollars.
So it's going to make us want Eric Goodbranson back.
I wish I could tweet, or I could give this person credit, but I saw a tweet today, and it was like the list of defensemen who are making $8 million, and they have all won a Norris Trophy or are Tyler Myers if he gets $8 million.
Yeah.
So.
That's the thing. Like, you can say that it's the cost of doing business, like with the Miller trade, but we don't have to be that people doing that.
You don't like you. The reason why GMs are so pissed about the cap is because they keep signing these players to these ridiculous deals. Like, it's not that hard to figure out.
Yeah, physician, heal thyself.
The absolute most I would do in a Myers deal is like 4 to 5 years at $6 million per.
Yeah, if it's over 6, I'm losing it.
But it's going to be.
I'm jumping off the ferry.
It's gonna be. It's gonna be over.
The kids need you, Adam.
No, they don't. They're gone. It's done.
Yeah, okay. Let's move on from the Tyler Myers conversation. Like, would you throw 56/7 at Jake Gardiner if you had the chance?
No.
But if you had to pick between the two, you would.
Yeah.
If I had to pick between the two, yes. But
I would do it to stop Jim Benning doing
that's what
it to
I
Tyler
texted
Myers.
Matt the other day. This is we're living in a world where I'm praying Jim Benning is going to overpay
for Jake
Gardiner so he doesn't overpay for Tyler Myers. Like, it's so effed up.
Yeah. Some of the other names that have been suggested to the Vancouver Canucks, Rick Dollywall reporting this on Sunday night, but some depth players, Jordy Ben, Patrick Nemeth, like, these are third pairing defensemen that could be had for like $1.5-2 million per. You would take either of those at those kind of dollar figures over Myers at $7 million or $8 million a year?
Hell yes.
Yeah, but also, like, okay. I was going to say the Canucks don't need more.
It doesn't move the needle like it should, though.
But I mean, they've always, like, they're so, maybe we'll get into Ben Hutton later, but they're so thin on defense that Ben Hutton played such significant minutes that now his arbitration rights are going through the roof, right? So
yeah,
and now they're probably going to lose him for nothing, and so you want depth, and those guys would provide pretty good depth. But they're the kind of guys like Jay Beagle that Benning would fork out $20 million over 4 years for.
That's the thing. We've kind of seen with Ben Hutton what the cost is of just like accepting the blue line as it was last off season. So you'd rather like stuff it somehow because it's not going to it's not going to turn around, and we're not going to sign someone that turns our blue line around. So I'd rather stuff it with like low paid guys than Tyler Myers.
Let's talk about other free agents that would be available. Like, do any of the names that are out there, Adam, move the needle for you? Would you be interested in any of them? I mean, we've seen from Dollywall that maybe the Canucks have shown some interest in Gustav Nyquist.
Yeah, Nyquist is a guy that I would like at a reasonable term or dollars, just because I think he could fill out your top 6 nicely for the next couple of years at least.
The other one that I thought was kind of interesting, and maybe you guys disagree with this, and this is a guy who I think could play in that middle 6 on the wing and give you a little bit of options. Jonas Donskoy from the San Jose Sharks.
Yeah,
like, he wouldn't come at a heavy price tag.
That's the thing. As long as we're paying him at that middle to bottom 6 value.
Like, I'm thinking, like, off the top of my head, like a 3 or 4 year deal, like $4.5 million for a kind of player like that. I think that gives you some versatility on the wings in that middle of your lineup, and I think that would be a good one. Like, I'm not looking to break the bank with anybody here.
That's the thing.
Least of all Tyler Myers. But, like, if you can find some stop gaps, kind of like what the Canucks were hoping to accomplish when they signed Sam Gagner, like, that's what I'm looking for. And I just don't see Jim Benning actually doing that.
That's the thing. We're okay with the stopgap deal, but we want it to be treated as such, right? We want it shortish term and not huge dollars, which has not been Jim Benning's strength whatsoever, putting people to those contracts.
The other guy that I have some interest in is Tim Heed from the Sharks, the defenseman.
Okay.
Not a lot.
Enlighten me.
Well, I just think he could be had on the cheap. He can move the puck well. He can play on the power play.
So if we let Ben Hutton go, and we'll get into that in just a second.
Yeah.
Tim Heed is someone you could see.
Yeah.
Sort of stepping in.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Ben Hutton. So rumors breaking today, and we'll sort of preface this by saying we're just sort of learning about it today, that Ben Hutton may not get a qualifying offer from the Vancouver Canucks. Thus, that would make him a potential unrestricted free agent. Anyone surprised by this news?
Yes, and I think it's dumb.
Yes, I think it's dumb also. It's just like spent so much energy in Ben Hutton.
Yeah.
And like,
and
we could see him walking away from that.
Qualify him.
Yeah.
He might make more in arbitration. Yeah, but then you walk away if you don't like it, right? But you like that's the thing. You qualify him and then you try to move him before arbitration. It gives you an extended period of time, and then if you get to arbitration, then you walk away then. Like, there's just no point in doing it now. Losing all that leverage now, I don't understand it.
It's the dumbest of, like, the choices, right? And it's just like,
maybe
you kind of
somebody
made your
offers
own
you something. Who
bed
knows? Yeah, exactly.
with this, so you're going to have to do some maneuvering.
It's just more poor asset management.
Yeah.
And, you know, Matt and I were talking about this before when we were having dinner, just, like, how is every other right-handed defenseman worth so much to teams except Ben Hutton? Like, where's his trade value? Why is there not a market for him, right?
Yeah.
Every other defenseman in the league, left or right-handed, is overvalued, but Ben Hutton can't seem to find there's no market for him, and I don't understand why.
Fair enough. As we sort of wrap things up here on the C4 podcast, it's going to be a week. A very interesting week.
It's called Hate 16 for a reason.
I'm equal parts excited, equal parts terrified of what will happen over the next week.
Wow.
Oh, Dhaliwal also said there's
good.
no chance Panarin's coming to Vancouver.
I saw that,
and
but then he deleted the tweet.
So
you're telling me there's a chance?
Yeah, well.
I mean, we all know Panarin's not coming to Vancouver. But I will say, this is a very real period of uncertainty. It's kind of interesting from a NASCAR perspective. Like, you watch it for the car crashes.
Oh, rubbernecking?
Yeah.
I am just I can't not watch what will happen for the next week. And
I'm just refreshing Twitter nonstop.
I'm just
you're on Twitter, Adam? You're on Twitter still?
Yeah, would it kill you to tweet once in a while?
Yeah, I can. It's like I haven't tweeted in so long. Now it's just like the principle of not tweeting. It's like I don't have Instagram.
Well,
for that
someone's got to keep you in line. You're a teacher. Inspire the generation. I'm scared about what Jim Benning is going to do in free agency. And I've come to accept that we are going to sign Tyler Myers. And I'm just praying that it's not as bad as we've all sort of discussed it could be.
Do we
think the issue is that there's no one, do we think Jim Benning's just surrounded by yes men, or do you think the ideas come from somewhere else and he's too dumb to say anything else?
I honestly don't know. I really don't know.
The culture just isn't right in that management setup.
Well, he's gone next year anyway, so.
Yeah.
Anna, why don't you tell people where they can find us here on the C4 podcast? Do you have that in your head? Because I still don't.
Well, Chris said I half got it right last time, so
you can maybe
we're on
push
Twitter.
us over 50.
We're on Twitter at the C4 Podcast. We're on Facebook at C4 Podcast. We're on Discord. You can find our pin tweet at the C4 Podcast, or you can go to bit.ly/C4 Podcast, all caps. I think. I'm pretty sure. Also,
no, I think that's right.
Also, we're on iTunes. We're on Stitcher. We're on Spotify.
Also, is there ever a backslash used in URLs?
I don't think so anymore. Isn't it for coding and stuff?
Probably, but you just said / so it just made me think the forward was probably redundant.
Yeah, I think it is at this point.
But any last thoughts though from you, Adam?
Well, I just want to tell a very quick story. You were last time I was on the show. You guys were chirping me for the kayak trip that I was going on, and
were we chirping?
Yeah, I called my school hippy dippy. Matt said that he would never.
It is hippy dippy.
He would never.
It was pretty hippy dippy.
He would never trust his children with me on a kayak trip. Anyway, one of my students' dads tweeted me and said that he trusts me with their kid, and that that was basically it. But it's a funny story.
Did he?
I can
get
read the
that
tweet here
from
the podcast. Yeah,
because he listens or his kid listens.
I think his kid listens. So shout out to Danae, and there's a few more I have to get to as well. Anyway, he says, once I find it, Danae says, mention her in your next podcast as the official winner of Egyptian Rat Slap, also known as Slapjack. I don't know if you guys play that card game.
No.
She trusts you in a kayak at her hippity dippity school and take off the Patriots hat.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
I agree with the Patriots hat part.
Yeah. Anyway.
Anna, any last thoughts from you?
I also give a shout out to River, Ava, and Lola. Okay, go.
There's a lot of shout outs that are being given here. You know, you're only allowed to give at least...
Hey, it gets subscribers. So
yeah.
Do you want it or do you not want it?
That's true. We do like the subscribers.
There you go.
We are sellouts for subscribers.
Yeah.
By the way, if you haven't, subscribe to us on iTunes. And you can also find us on Spotify and on Stitcher.
Are we on Stitcher?
Yeah, we are.
I'm pretty sure we are. So you can do that. And also, visit us at Discord.
Yes.
You can find us on the pinned tweet at the C4 Podcast on Twitter. Right?
Yes.
Thank you. Anna, last thoughts?
I, for one, welcome our new Tyler Myers overlord.
No, don't accept it. We got to, you know what? In honor of Jason Botchford, we need to stick up for ourselves.
Yeah. Resist.
Yes. The Army.
The Army.
Did anyone go? You went to the Botchford tribute event, didn't you?
I went on Thursday, yeah.
How was it?
It was an amazing evening, actually. His wife, Kat, spoke first, and she's just truly an incredible woman, I have to say. So I was sobbing from the very start.
I was going to ask. You said it for me.
And his brother was there also. But yeah, it was also just a very kind of, there was lots of laughs there. There was a lot of money raised. The Canucks donated some items. So
I heard among them Elias Pettersson had donated a jersey as well or something like that.
So there was a team signed jersey and then there was a PD signed stick.
By the way, shout out to Elias Pettersson for mentioning Jason Botchford at the NHL Awards. I honestly could not believe that he had done that, and I thought he didn't have to do that. And the fact that he did shows how much class that Elias Pettersson had.
And how much
he got choked up in the press conference.
Botchford meant to the team. And
totally.
To
well,
city.
I mean, I will say this, and I know we're sort of supposed to sign off here, but I feel like Botchford was one of the first people that like really believed in Pettersson's abilities, and I think that's why Pettersson had that sort of connection to Jason Botchford. So I thought that was an amazing touch from Elias Pettersson and truly classy of him. Maybe Bo Horvat doesn't have that C on his jersey just yet. I'm just saying, like...
The Canucks Army put out an article saying Besser should be the next captain. I didn't read it.
I don't know about that. But...
No, not vanilla pudding Besser.
Hey, you could do worse than... By the way, Brock Besser, next contract, very quickly. Is it getting done before the next podcast?
Sure.
What's the term, very quickly? Let's throw it out there.
I think it'll be long-term.
Yeah.
Anyone want to throw numbers out there?
I think it'll be under 8.
Under 8 years?
No, under 8 million.
Oh, okay.
I was going to say, like...
I could see 7.5.
I was going to say 8 by 8.
In 8 years. Yeah, I would say it'll be under 60. It'll be around $64 million.
So we're good with 8 by 8 though, if it came to that?
Yeah, he's that's kind
of... I think it's interesting, though,
down.
Very quickly, like, William Karlsson just got a 6-year deal for $48 million, so it's $6 million per for William Karlsson.
Yeah.
Who has a very similar track record to Besser.
Yeah, but he's older, isn't he?
He is older.
So...
I guess so. I would prefer to keep it around 7.5 for Besser.
Also, I think the state tax plays a big role.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's
the
true.
lack thereof.
Yeah.
But.
Well, I guess, I could be 8 by 8 on Besser. Anyway. Thank you for listening to us here on the C4 Podcast. On behalf of the absent Chris Golden at Lightforce and Adam Ovenel-Carter, who promises to start tweeting a little bit more at AdamFOC on Twitter, give him a follow. Maybe that'll get him to tweet more.
If I get 5 new followers, I will tweet again.
Ooh.
Keeping track. Anna Forsyth at aforsyth03. She was also manning the C4 Podcast Twitter account during the draft. Check her out. I am Matt Lee at MattLee_61. Thank you so much for listening. And with all that said, we're out!
Thanks for listening to the C4 Podcast on CanucksHockeyBlog.com.